Hey everybody, here for Real Housewives of Atlanta. So let's get right into it. Not much happened besides the incident with Tammy's son. Again, if I'm talking low, my daughter's asleep. So it continued from last week with, Kenya snapping at Tammy's nephew, and he basically let her know, you got to get my attention a different way. Don't snap at me. So, Kenya is like, oh, well, he got a little spiciness in him. He's a little spicy. And I'm like, see, you flirting with him now. So they get back to the house and they're drinking and, trying to have fun. Portia and Oliver flirting. First of all, Oliver was letting them know, Portia is my candy. I'm staking claim on that. That's my boo thing. I was like, yes, Oliver, yes. I'm like, slow down a little bit, but yes. Like, he already staking his claim. Portia, my girl. That's mine right there. I was like, yes. So they're in a jacuzzi and Glenn is just being outright disrespectful. Like, these hoes ain't gonna say nothing to me. These bitches, and I'm like, dude, these are grown ass women. They older than you. This is how you kiss your mama with that mouth. So I mean, I was here for Glenn when he checked Kenya, but after him checking Kenya, he was psycho. Like, he went from 0 to 100 real quick. So they're all sitting there, Candy is just hanging out, watching the girls in the pool and jacuzzi and whatnot. So he comes over by her and just basically snaps on Candy for no reason. Like, what's the attitude for? Why you got an attitude? I ain't fucking with you and all this other stuff. And Candy is like, why are you even like snapping at me? I'm pregnant. I ain't do nothing to you. So that was one thing. And then when he got in the jacuzzi, he just like, all these little bitches can't say nothing to me. These hoes can't tell me nothing. And he's saying this in front of Sheree, in front of his friend. So Kenya got out the pool. She got out the jacuzzi because she felt uncomfortable. And she went to them and she told them, yeah, he's just been acting weird. Like, he's been like very aggressive, very mean for no reason. And I don't feel comfortable with him being here. I think he should just leave. And I was like, oh, here we go, Kenya. You always want to throw somebody out of your events or your little parties or whatever when you don't like something that they doing, or they don't agree with you, or they not down with what you doing. She always quick to throw somebody out. So they all get back in the house and they tell Tammy that, they were sitting outside and they let Tammy know, yeah, he has to go. He's aggressive. So Tammy is like, it's not a problem. He'll go. So Tammy goes to tell him, hey, y'all gotta go. It's time to go. So Tammy clearly was about to have them outside of taking them outside the house. So Kenya is standing there and he said something to her and she said, yeah, because you've been acting weird, you've been mean, you've been nasty, and we're all trying to have a good time. I just think it's best if you go. So out of nowhere, he flips and he's like, listen, little bitch, I ain't got time for this, little bitch. So then security comes in and he's fighting security. Out of nowhere, he pushes Tammy. Tammy hits the floor and he's still fighting security. So Tammy was knocked out for a second. So they had called an ambulance or whatever to come, and they're still trying to get him out of the house. So all the ladies are like, oh my God, he pushed Tammy. He's crazy. He should have left, blah, 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 blah. So Tammy goes in the ambulance and everybody's like distraught and scared or whatever. Candy is like, you know what? I'm glad I wasn't a part of that. So Cynthia comes and she's like, you know what? I feel really guilty because I brought Tammy along. So I feel like I have a part to play in this. So Kenya's like, no, this is not your fault. He was aggressive. She's like, yeah, I know, but Tammy is still my friend. And I do feel like I play a part in this because I brought her to the group. So for a little bit, her and Cynthia get into a little bit of an argument. And Kenya is like, no, it's not your fault. Stop blaming yourself. It has nothing to do with you. You can't blame nobody but the person for their behavior. So everybody was saying, why is everybody blaming Kenya for the situation? I don't blame Kenya for the situation. I blame her because she's always quick to want to throw somebody out when they're not doing something that she likes or they're saying stuff that she doesn't like. Granted, he was aggressive, but Kenya should have just shut up and let Tammy handle it because Tammy was handling it. Tammy almost had them out the door when Kenya decides to come and say, yeah, well, you've been acting weird, I think if she'd have just kept her mouth shut and left it alone, he wouldn't have, went overboard like he did. So that's the only thing I blame Kenya for, but I'm not going to blame her for this whole situation because Glenn was at fault from beginning to end. First, for coming at Candy for no reason, and then for calling them bitches and all. Like, it was just disrespectful, and yeah, he needed to leave. So when they all woke up the next day, Candy was like, she's leaving, she doesn't feel safe. She spoke to Todd. Todd was pissed that she's even there and dealing with that. Kim was like, she's leaving because she didn't feel safe. So they were sitting there discussing it before Candy left, and they were like, yeah, no, Candy was like, yeah, Tammy came back with the guys, right? And she was like, no. She was like, yeah, they came back and we heard a whole bunch of commotion and whatnot. Tammy came back from the hotel. So they showed a video. All the girls are joking around and whatnot. And then they showed Tammy at the door looking like, that's how she was looking at the door. I'm standing there like, I'm looking like, yo, she look crazy. Like, she about to kill y'all. So she said that they sent her to a hotel for the night. And she just came and got her stuff. So, Cynthia was like, well, I don't think it's right that the ladies are cracking jokes and all of that about her. I would be pissed if I was her. And I'm like, yeah, they are wrong for cracking jokes about it. But, I mean, I would crack a joke or two also at how Tammy was standing at that door. She looked scary. I was sitting there watching the video of her like, yo, this look like some paranormal activity type stuff. So anyway, all that aside, they go out. Portia rented them these little Hummers so that they could see like a tour of Miami, and they went all around Miami hanging out and whatnot. So it was a good day for that. And then that same night they were discussing the situation with Glenn. Now, this talk between Phaedra and Sheree was well needed, but it was the wrong time. And Phaedra was basically saying that Glenn is being judged by, who he is and whatnot. And she compared it to Mike Brown and Sandra Bland. Okay, I get what they were saying, but it was the wrong time to say it. Glenn being judged for his behavior has nothing to do with him being a black boy. It has to do with his level of maturity. Because Glenn was being immature from the time they got to the house to the time he left. Calling them, calling them bitches and all of that and being real nasty. That was uncalled for. Like I said, I was here for him telling Kenya she need to watch who she talking to when she's snapping and all of that. But that had nothing to do with him being a black boy, being labeled in America. That had nothing to do with it. So that was a perfect talk. But it was the wrong time for that type of talk. But I get what they were saying. So, now, Candy left. The ladies are having like a little dinner, a dinner for the night. And they called and they checked on Tammy and invited her. So, the same night, Portia was having her date. So, Portia goes on her date, and Oliver is moving fast, and he's like, what's the best part of a date? The kiss. So he goes to kiss her, and Portia's like, oh my God, you're making me nervous. But they kissed. So I was like, all right, like I said, Oliver is staking his claim. He see what he wants, and he going after it. That's a man. Portia, I hope you still dating him, because he's cute, and he seems like he's perfect for you. So when she came back, all the ladies were knocked out, and they was like, well, we were trying to wait for you to get back so we could have dinner. They asked about her date. She said her date was fun, and he drove the conversation. They were like, you actually let him shut up? You actually shut up long enough for him to drive the conversation? So they joked around, and Cynthia said, I'm glad, even though it's an unfortunate situation, it happened between us, because now we're here where we're here now, and we're better as friends. And I'm like, yeah, see, I'm glad that they're being very grown women and forgiving each other in their situations. Still a little shady, but I mean, it's Atlanta. What else do you expect? So back in Atlanta, Kim is having a conversation with her husband, and she's saying that Kenya is just always like stirring up drama, and she's not sure if she wants to do business with Kenya because she's actually enjoying being around Kenya's friends more than she's enjoying being with Kenya. So her husband is like, well, she seems devious. I wouldn't go down that road with her. You go with your gut instinct. So then Candy is having a conversation with Todd, and Todd is like, how was it with you and Phaedra? Were you guys kicking it? And she's like, yeah, we were kicking it for the most part, because, you know, Phaedra has a split personality. On one hand, she's prim and proper. On the other hand, she's crazy, turn up, fun, and whatnot. And I'm like, that's not a split personality. That's called a time and a place for everything. You don't have to be turn up when it's time to work. Like, people have, yeah, they all have different sides to them. You have to have the side that's work, and you have to have the side that's play. And when Phaedra is prim and proper, she's about her business. But when it's time to turn up, Phaedra knows how to turn up. Nothing wrong with that. I'm pretty sure you're the same way, Candy. So Candy is just like, she hopes that Todd and Phaedra can iron out whatever differences they have or whatever. Now, the last conversation was with Kim and Kenya, and Kim was just basically like, you know, I'm not saying that you're the cause of the drama. I'm just saying that you provoked the situation a little bit. And Kenya was like, well, no, that's not how it went. And Kim was like, yeah, that's exactly how it went. So, you know, Kenya, of course, feels offended. Like, everybody's always pointing the finger at her. But 9 times out of 10, Kenya, a lot of the drama that goes on amongst these girls, you have been the center of it. And you throw a rock and then you hide your hand. And you can't do that. But I will say, I'm not putting all the blame on Kenya for this incident. Matter of fact, Kenya is not to blame for this incident. Kenya just doesn't know when to keep her mouth shut. And at that point in time, when Tammy was getting them boys out that house, she shouldn't have said nothing. She should have kept her mouth shut. So that's where I can agree where she was wrong at. But she's not to blame for the situation. Glenn is. So that's all Kim was saying. And Kim was like, I didn't leave because I was homesick and wanted to be with my husband and kids. I left because I felt unsafe and my husband agreed. So that's why I left. You know, so Kenya was like, well, okay, well, then your decision was valid. You know, that you wasn't just leaving. It was convenient, and you wasn't just leaving because you was missing your guy. And I'm like, what difference does it make? What does it matter? If she decided to leave because she was missing her husband, that's her business. Like, y'all are so quick to sit up here and judge Kim for how she feels with her husband and her kids. Y'all have to keep in mind, she's a mother. She's a wife. That comes before hanging out with your girlfriends. That comes before partying and all of that. Being a wife and a mother is a lot of work. And that's what Kenya fails to realize, because she's never been a wife and she's never been a mother. So naturally, somebody who has never done stuff like that is going to have an opinion. So I'm like, her decision was her decision to leave, period. But, you know, that was basically the episode. They at least left Miami on a good note, you know, despite the whole Glenn situation and Kim breaking down. But, I mean, it was an okay episode. Lord, next week, it looked like we're going to see Don Juan working hard to earn his peach on this damn cast, because Don Juan be doing too much. Like, oh my God, like Don Juan is worse than Peter. Don Juan is seriously worse than Peter. Peter has his opinions, but Don Juan be going like left for no reason, and he really needs to sit down somewhere. Like, Candy need to tell him, listen, I'm not paying you to run your mouth and offer me your opinion all the daggone time and be messy. I'm paying you to assist. So it's whatever. But that was Real Housewives of Atlanta. I think this is episode 7, episode 8 is one of them. You'll see it when I upload it. But yes, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.